Good skies, sexy Wookiees, and welcome to another episode of Sexy Wookiee Squadcast. We're continuing reading Star Wars Heir to the Empire, chapter 6 through 10. Almost said 6 through 7 there.
Short week.
Well, there's no time to discuss this in a committee. It's your boy, Sexy Leader.
Hey, it's your girl, Sexy One.
Hey, it's your simp, 62.
Lock has foils in attack position.
All right, guys, ready?
Yes!
I'm having so much fun with this book. Can I share like a couple fun facts with you guys first, though?
Oh, yes,
Yep.
Please. Fill us in on the author's notes.
So I actually have it listed as like fun fact in my notes, so I know what to read to you guys.
Fun fact.
So from chapter 7, Timothy Zahn had put in his little note, he was like, it took me so long to figure out how to write the sound of an igniting lightsaber. And it took me a second, and I was like, oh, you know what? If I were the first person to write Star Wars, or one of the first, I would not know what the hell to put for that. So bless him for figuring it out.
Yeah, it's so iconic now. I think everybody uses snap hiss. And like, it makes so much sense. It is like a... like,
yeah, because
how do you describe
just put
that?
like fizz or like
buzz.
sizzle, but
buzz. Intimidating enough.
I guess like there's a few times in like the chapters where he admits he's like, you know what, I didn't really think much on this, but now everyone uses it or more people use it. I'm like, good for you, dude.
Yeah, he was a trailblazer.
Yeah,
for sure.
He in chapter 8 he had mentioned how even if your title's Grand Admiral, if you're having a conversation with someone, it's just short to Admiral. But Sabaoth keeps saying it just to be sarcastic and rude.
What a brat. Yeah, he the dynamic between Paleon and Thrawn and Sabaoth is like, I love it. It's just like constant tension. The three of them, it's like, it's kind of Western standoff. You're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Who's going to snap first?
Oh, I love it. It's hilarious.
I love them.
And then in chapter 8, Timothy Zahn actually said he doesn't like writing characters like Leia. Like he doesn't like those combative types, and he doesn't like writing them. But he said it is good to still have them in a story.
I made the story.
Yeah, no, it's important to kind of show that it's not so simple to start this new government from scratch when you were this scrappy little rebellion. Like, not everybody's going to agree and be constantly getting along, and it's so realistic to have everybody kind of looking out for their own interests and personalities clashing. It really makes this believable world building.
I think so, definitely. There's 3 more fun facts, and then we'll get to the questions. They're actually all from chapter 9. Okay, so the next one was he didn't explain why, and I kind of wish I knew why, but but Timothy Zahn said that he made a la carte ship names puns.
Oh.
So he decided to just have them all be puns.
I would like to know why. I hate puns, although it is,
unless it's a Star Wars pun.
So it says all la carte ships names involve puns or some other kind of wordplay. Wild card, starry ice, starry eyes, either way, and so on. And I'm like, what a dad.
Stupid puns.
What a dad.
But yeah, the wild card is very iconic.
The next fun fact, like I squealed a little bit because I loved it. I was excited. So he said the Rogue Squadron was a throwaway line. So it was actually a throwaway line. But he figured that Wedge deserved to be in command for surviving 3 Star Wars movies.
Yes.
That's why Wedge is in command, because he survived the 3 movies.
Goodness, he did that, because that's where we get the amazing Rogue Squadron series, the whole X-Wing series. It's all from this throwaway line. Thank you, Timothy Zahn. And then other authors decided to pick that up and fill in the gaps. And oh my gosh, how happy were you when like Wedge really showed up again and was like in an action Han and Leia? I'm like, yes, go Wedge, I love you.
I was so happy, and it was just so cute reading the little note, because Timothy Zahn said I never would have imagined like how amazing a world building that Michael A. Stackpole and the other authors
Yep.
would have done with just this line.
Yep.
And it's true, because of this line, you know, way more stories were created, more characters, and Timothy Zahn just really set the groundwork for so many more adventures.
Yeah, it's so kind of amazing the way we've done this in reading it in more like a chronological order, where we've read the X-Wing novels and been introduced to these characters before they were invented, basically. So Phalia and Rogue Squadron and filling in kind of Wedge's character a little bit before we see him here, which is really the first time that he was expanded on in the novels. So it's just, yeah, it's fascinating. I love him and Han, and kind of like the little wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we get each other kind of dynamic that they have. And how much do you love Han in these chapters? Like, we haven't gotten some good Han since we read that solo book.
Yeah,
and
it's really
he's
good.
so competent in these. Like, oh, so much better than the sequel trilogy, but don't get me started.
I love it because like you could see he really has grown, but he's still the same person. And I think to be able to write that instead of writing a completely different character is more challenging. And I love the way that he executed it. And the editor even wrote, I think it was the editor that wrote it, but she was like, I figured Han was Timothy Zahn's favorite character because he gives him all the best lines.
Yeah, like, and they're very Han, and he's so smart, and he's smart in a different way than Leia is. When the two of them are in a situation, she figures out some things and he figures out other things, and they constantly surprise each other and look out for each other in different ways. Like, he really utilizes,
they complement each other.
Exactly. They each have their own strengths, and neither one is to a detriment because of the other one. Like, they work together well. I really appreciate that.
What I like about this author is that he's really, I can read the characters as the way the actors portrayed them. And that's what I love about the language of this book, is that anyone, even though somebody wasn't in the movies, you could still kind of give them some type of Star Wars. The language is so correct. The language is, or the script is so Star Wars. When
everyone has a really clear voice. It helps kind of define the character.
Yeah, I think he just does so well.
But even the new characters.
Speaking of his writing, the last fun fact is he said that they were told at this point in time the Clone Wars happened 35 years before A New Hope. So this book is 16 years off of what we now know.
The correct timing.
Interesting.
I wonder, my thing is like, why did they change it so drastically? I mean, I guess it makes more sense now, but like, I'm just wondering, like, how do you have 16 years off like that?
Yeah, that's a big chunk of time.
I'm just wondering, like, what made George change his mind to be no, it's actually less time.
It could have been that it was supposed to last for so many years. Like, maybe it was a 15-year war. And so at some point, a portion of it was 35 years in the past, and then it got condensed. And because George figured, oh, well, that's not going to work with the characters' ages, it must have started later than what I thought. But yeah, who knows? Unfortunately, not all the continuity is consistent, but it was still the first that we'd ever gotten to even get more hints at what this Clone Wars was back in the day. And so it was very exciting.
I think it's really cool that he got to do it, and I do appreciate that he put that note, because if not, I would have been trying to do the math.
So confusing.
Like, so I was reading that line about the person in Dagobah, and I was like, wait a second, math, because there's so much math in Star Wars apparently. But then he's like, no, I'm just straight up saying it's 16 years off, and I'm like, thank you.
And he's like really into this like whole dark Jedi thing. And so he's like constantly like, oh, the dark Jedi and the Clone Wars, and then this dark Jedi and this Jedi turned dark. So it's like, that was a thing that didn't really become a huge thing. It was like a very rare occurrence.
Well, that's because he wasn't, in one of the notes, he did say like, they weren't really supposed to use the word Sith.
Right.
because they weren't sure what
those were.
George was going to come up with later. So that's why
Mhm.
he was like, okay, a dark Jedi is good enough. I was like,
That's very
oh
cool.
shoot, I never thought about that until like he mentioned it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
read somewhere before, even Qui-Gon was considered a dark Jedi, but then I never understood, like, I never made the connection of like, why would Qui-Gon be one? And
I've heard he's more like a
we know
gray
that
Jedi.
episode 2, please, I don't even want to get with that. But even Anakin, episode 2, dark Jedi. So there's like meanings that I guess differ, because
Yeah.
Qui-Gon, as we all know, was a smooth dude, but with Anakin episode 2, it was very, you could say like, oh man, that's dark.
Walking
right?
the line.
So, yeah. So, well, I don't know who makes up the definitions for that, but I'm glad to see it in this book, and I'm glad they did call Joris. I'm gonna say Joris because I know I'm gonna say it wrong. So yeah, I like how they depict them as the dark Jedi.
Yeah, and he
Very cool.
definitely kind of defines it. Like, if there ever was a dark Jedi, Joris is like absolutely unhinged and crazy, but very powerful in the Force. So I would be like, yeah, that guy's a dark Jedi.
Can we talk about real quick how like so freaking casual Wedge was? He's like, oh yeah, the dark Jedi.
Oh, you mean
this guy? Yeah, we
the dark
heard,
Jedi?
we heard rumors about him. Yeah, it's
Dude,
whatever.
What are you doing?
Oh, Wedge, I love him so much.
I liked that part because you can see how the plan is coming into fruition so naturally, exactly how they wanted it to. Like, the bad guys are like, oh, let's plant these rumors, and then Luke won't be able to resist coming and checking out if there's a Jedi rumored to still be alive.
Yeah.
And like, sure enough, the rumor gets to Wedge. Wedge tells Han and Leia, and they're like, oh, we got to tell Luke. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's exactly how they wanted it to happen, but it feels so natural and not forced or super convenient. Wow. Like, I'm like, no, this is exactly how it would play out. Dang it, Wedge.
God,
Keep your mouth shut.
He's such a little ham.
I love him.
Oh, all right. But are you guys ready for questions?
Yeah, let's get some questions.
Yep.
All right. So I kind of feel like you guys are gonna have different answers on this, but I'd like to get your thoughts. So would you guys go with Leia's gut feeling and stay together, or would you go with Luke's and split up? Because the fact that they're both like in tune with Force granted him more than her, but they both felt different things. Whose gut feeling would you go with?
After what happened, I would err on the side of caution and stick together. Like, it's splitting up is just never a good idea when you know somebody's after y'all. Like, it's like in the scary movies or those movies where like, let's split up and like check out you're like, oh my gosh, who would do that? Like, don't be crazy. Like, no, stick together, watch each other's backs. Like, now is not the time to be going separate ways. That would be my instinct.
Yeah. You do want to stick together, but I can't remember where your question is context to, but I do know the split. And then
do you remember I think it was chapter 6?
Oh, 6.
Chapter 6, you remember when they first got to the planet and then Leia felt something off and Luke was like, well, I don't feel anything.
No, I don't know, because I fast forwarded to where let's see. I wouldn't say it like this. Yes, you do want to stick together, but it got Luke back into an X-Wing. So
eventually, yeah.
Eventually.
Later on.
But I mean,
we got to see a really good Luke action scene out of it.
Yeah.
Like him by himself figuring it out, and we got to see a really good Han and Leia working together action scene. And Leia having to rely on like a little bit of the Force that she has. But yeah, I would, if anything's off, man, don't split up.
Yeah.
It makes the story though.
But it really did.
But like for you, what would you do?
Oh, okay. So what would I do?
Yeah, what would you do?
This is when they were on the planet and they were like, you can go to the tower and you can go to the marketplace. And Leia's like, oh, they're trying to split us up.
Yeah, so what would you do? Because Leia said, let's stay
right.
together, and Luke
No,
said,
no,
now
And
no.
we're
Luke, yeah,
Yes.
Luke
splitting
was
up.
like, I don't sense anything
Yes, yes. Now I
duplicitous with
remember.
them.
I remember. I read it last night. That's why.
This should be
No,
fresh.
just kidding. It should
Yeah,
be
that
fresh.
should be fresh in your head, dude.
No, what you said is exactly going to be my answer. It made for one of the coolest scenes I have had Luke to read about Luke, and just using the Force where he blinds you know,
And then throws
the
his
bims.
stinking lightsaber and
Yeah,
like
I
chops
was
them all. I
like,
was like, bro.
Like
this is
boomerang
like,
lightsaber.
Yes.
you know, it's everything a Jedi fan wants to read, because like, you know, you don't see that much in the movies, and now you really get to read it in this book where he's like, dude, this is, to me, this is Luke's prime, and whatever
Yeah.
happened to this guy in the future, like,
We don't talk
that-
about Jake.
that's it.
Okay, so you would split up. if
Yeah, I
you
would
were with
split up.
them. Okay.
They had all their points that they're in the against the bims.
Okay. I would stay together, and if I had to, I would lie and be like, well, it's our custom that we stay as a group because we don't want to inconvenience her. I don't know. I would lie if I had to. I'd be like, we are not splitting up. We are
Yeah.
not letting crazy. We don't know these people. And if at least one person has a bad gut feeling, I'm gonna go with the one bad gut feeling.
I'm not changing my answer. Like, I'm gonna stick by that. Whatever Luke was thinking at the time to split up, it's very, I don't know if it was just a gut decision or a Jedi. I don't think Jedi do that, but and it was, you know, I thought Luke would have a more calculated movements, but whatever did, it played out. But you are right. So I'm not gonna talk about like just real life really quickly. Like, when you do split up, things don't always go as what it seems, but there are some instances when you do, and you're like, oh, it worked out for the best. But yeah, I would say 90% of the time, splitting up is not the way to go. But yeah, there is that 10% that you want to split for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, hey, everything works out.
Yeah, to your point though, I do really appreciate that this Luke isn't a total idiot, but he's not super overpowered, OP, perfect Rey Skywalker levels. Like, he's trying so hard, but he's also insecure, and he's making mistakes, but he's also a badass when he needs to be. Like, it's this really amazing balance of like, he is the best Jedi that they've got, but he's
what?
But that's because he's the only one.
Pregnant Jedi Leia is
She's
the coolest.
trying, but she can't even turn that light switch on and off. Like, you know, but bless her heart, she tries.
I found it funny how Luke was like, even for a Jedi, jumping 5 stories is not much. But then after watching like the prequels and the Clone Wars, it's like your dad jumped like 100 stories and was fine.
Yeah,
for real.
like
Yeah,
Well,
so
no.
I found that kind of funny. Like, I'm sure at the time they didn't think of it, but like,
yeah.
now,
Well, and he
now
doesn't know.
Yeah.
Luke really has no context.
He didn't get the training from his dad. His dad had the full training at 9 years old. Whoop-de-doo, right? But
poor Luke.
Yeah,
he's just trying to figure it out from scratch.
Look at it at 19. That's a 10-year gap for their for when their training started. And definitely Luke was way too old.
Way too old.
Oh man, where this question has gone.
Well, speaking of Jedi, which
right.
do you consider more important, Jedi studies or counselor duties?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. So in the context of Leia wanting to take some time off from her diplomatic duties and study Jedi-ness, well, you know, I would say Jedi studies, only because like that is such a specialty that not many people have the aptitude for at this time. Whereas senators and diplomats are a dime a dozen, especially on Coruscant. Like, you can choose and train up a new politician, no problem. Yes, Leia's naturally gifted at that, and so you really want her to continue to do something that she's so good at already. But where are you going to find another potential Jedi that already has a connection to Luke, and so is easier to train. Like, you got to take advantage of that. Sorry, Winter could be the diplomat. She could pretend to be Leia, and everyone would believe it.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I'd have to say, Mon Mothma, you got to lay up, let her do her Jedi studies, get somebody else out there be an ambassador.
Okay, I of course, like, I love pregnant Jedi Leia, Organa Solo, but
With a lightsaber now,
with
y'all.
a lightsaber
What?
and everything. Yeah, I was very excited to see that. Like, I was like, man, there's so much hope for where this goes, and like, I was more, now that I heard your answer, I'm not changing what I like about it. What I don't want her to do is rush into it. Like, I'd rather have her have the formal training at the time when she's ready, right? I feel like this is just rushed because so many things are
They're
happening
desperate.
at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Desperation, you don't want to make, like, again, you want to make calculated decisions, I guess. So I think she would be better off being the diplomat, I think, because that's where her leadership has always lied. So, or how would you say? Yeah, that's where her leadership always has been. So I think it's better for her to be at a job where she's 100% than when everybody, because it's like, even though all these characters have their own duties, they still lean on each other too much, right? For the Jedi stuff, we need Luke to be at his 100. For Leia we need her to be, political 100, right? And then who else? Han, for Han to be, at his 100 at what he does best as this agent that they have him being right now, right? Captain Solo, sorry. Yeah, so I think she's better off just being the political leadership, because right now they don't know who's leader. Everybody's leader at this point. So it's better to have one leader, and I'd rather have it from one voice. And if we could have it to any one voice, Leia Organa Solo.
Yeah, like, stick with what she knows, because it comes naturally. It is her strength already. Whereas you start throwing her into the Jedi thing, and now she's out of her depth, is something she's not comfortable with. It's, and really, Luke, should you be having a remote shoot electric zaps at a pregnant lady? I'm like, this is probably not a good idea for Leia.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, geez, like, I don't know, throw like little soft cushion toys at her instead.
The Force is strong in this one.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think, Jess?
Honestly, the Jedi studies. She can go back to her diplomatic duties whenever, but the longer she waits to do her Jedi studies, the harder it is going to be for her to connect to the Force. And especially if she wants to protect her kids, I think it's better that, she focus on the Jedi studies, because I feel like it would give her more of an advantage when she does go back to, being an ambassador. If she has, the calmness and the extra connection to the Force, I think it would really, really help her. So I think it's better to take a step back, do the Jedi studies, and then go back.
Yeah, look how much that intuition has already helped and saved their lives, basically, just from her small connection that she has now. It is important.
Yeah, and I think when the kids come out, like, and they start to use the Force for whatever reason, at least, yeah, you guys are right. Like, she would be ready to take that role. I guess my dog doesn't like that answer. He really doesn't.
No, and he's like, don't change your mind.
Yeah, he barked when you said, no, I'm not
changing my mind. She keeps looking around like, where's the other dog?
I was like, he doesn't like Megan's answer. He doesn't like Jasmine's answer. And the moment I started saying that,
like, your answer.
Be all right, he was like, no, no, but yeah. So I think when the kids, do arrive, that she would be able to train them and not just, okay, learn it all from Uncle Luke, because we know how that ends. So not good.
It's okay. We pretend that doesn't exist because something else happens in the books.
It all exists to me. Everything I read is all connected now. All right.
So, separate universe. What's next?
Hi, guys. So, though his methods are unconventional, would you serve under Thrawn's command, or would you go under someone else's command that is much more by the book?
Good question. I would have to say I prefer understanding what's going on and being able to kind of predict what the next step will be. And so somebody who's very unorthodox and is doing things unexpected and not really fully explaining why they're making their decisions is unsettling to me. Like I get confused and nervous, and I don't know now if I'm doing it right because I don't know what the intention is behind these actions. And he's just basically like, don't question me, just do what I say, it'll all make sense later. And I cannot work like that. I have to be able to understand the thought process behind every decision that my leader makes so that I can anticipate what they'll need next. So somebody who's more by the book is going to be way more comfortable, and I will be able to do a better job as a subordinate if I know exactly what's going on and what to predict next. And so, yeah, I would have to go with someone a little more traditional. Serving under Thrawn would absolutely throw me off and make me a nervous wreck. Although he'd be nice to look at, so that balances it out a little. I'm sure Jasmine agrees.
As much I would love to serve under a Dark Lord of the
Did you say
Sith.
Dark Lord?
Yeah, Dark Lord of the Sith. No, I'd have to go with Thrawn.
Wait, no, I'm not talking about Sabea.
No, are you talking about Vader?
No, yeah, I'm just talking about Vader, just because of like.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a second.
No, yeah, no, I know
that was
that, but
that was the choice.
If that was the the intensity.
If that was the choice, okay.
I'd probably have to go with Thrawn because I feel like I could do my work more independently than from the team. So if I'm not looking to be like all up there, like in his high ranks, then even a mechanic or whatever would be fine.
That's right. You want to stay out of his way.
I don't think, yeah, exactly. So I don't think he'd bother me, but there would be those times that you do, like, it's like those times when you have to actually talk to management. It's like you do have to answer, and okay, I can answer the Thrawn easily, and not feel that much pressure because I know at the end of the day I'm doing my job. I'm in my own little world in the Chimera, like doing my thing. So.
In your little mechanic hole doing
yeah. Oh no, I'll take that back. I want to be the escape pod guy for the Chimera.
Oh my god.
I'll take care of that.
It's escape pod duty.
Yeah.
Easy
That's
peasy.
Funny. Okay, so Megan, I do agree with you that I need to know why. I feel like I need to always know why. But I also understand that there's always a method to madness. And I would serve under Thrawn because, yeah, he's not conventional, but he does get stuff done. He does care about his crew more than the standard military people that we've seen so far. I feel like Thrawn does care more about what happens. And I feel like if I really wanted to understand, I could go to Thrawn and I could be like, can you explain it? I want to understand. And he'd be like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll help you. Versus if I were, I don't know, under Captain Paleon or someone else, and I'd be like, can you explain this? And then they would be like, you should just know already, blah, blah, blah. So I
did like, oh, finish.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I liked his line at one point where Paleon suggested something and Joris was like, yeah, that's what we'll do. And Thrawn was like, thanks for saying that. And Paleon was like, I'm so sorry I spoke out of turn. And Thrawn was like, I don't care if somebody else has a better idea than me. Like my ego is not important. Like it's about having the best plan. Like that's so respectful. Yeah, so something like that makes me think like what you said is a reality, that if somebody were to come to him and be like, tell me how this works or why we're doing this, that he wouldn't be so proud or annoyed as to dismiss an underling's question or suggestion.
Yeah. That's why I would proudly serve under him, because I feel like at the end of the day, if I needed help understanding something, he's not going to condescend me. He's not going to be like, oh, well, you should already know. He's going to be like, well, here's my method, here's my thought process. And if I had a suggestion, he would listen. Even if it wasn't good, he would at least listen and consider it. And so I'd have to serve under him, because I think he would just, even if I don't always understand and he doesn't always explain, I feel like at the end of the day, I'd be more satisfied with the results I could get working on his ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Good point.
That's just me. Okay, so I got a little fun question.
Oh boy.
Forgetting the prequels, forgetting what we know now,
Unlearn what I've learned.
what do you think is the older twin, Luke or Leia? Just based on their dynamic. Just if we pretended that the prequels were not out, we did not know who was born first, based off of their dynamics and everything, who would you assume is the older twin? Because I really liked when Han was like, oh, I know you want to protect your little sister. She can't have her big brother around. And Luke's like, actually, we don't know who's older.
Even know.
I just really like that.
Do.
I'm trying to think, like, what's the stereotypical older sibling character traits and younger sibling character traits? And if I go to that, the stereotypical older sibling is usually more responsible, independent, and parental. And the younger sibling is like the baby. And so based on that, I would say Leia behaves more like an older sibling and Luke behaves more like a younger sibling. So I'd say Leia was probably older.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but I don't have siblings, so it's like I can't relate this
But
to
you have
anything.
cousins, some are
Yeah,
older.
but I don't even
younger.
I don't see there's no one that's older that shows like a leadership role.
Yeah, I
or
guess
type
it's
of
not always the case.
and that's why I cannot but who would I go with? It's just because what I know of Leia, even if you want to say it's the way she was raised, right?
Exactly. Like that's why.
We can do that. That's the only thing I can go by about, because there are legends books that we have read where she grew up. So that's what I'll stick by. I think Leia was, because just the way she was raised was, the thought process, right? But the way Luke never had to, he didn't really have to, he had his own stuff. He didn't have to worry about dealing with other people. For Leia, so many probably at the moment. And I said, you said not to compare. Okay, and I won't. I'll just say Leia.
Yeah.
I'll keep it at that.
Oh, I definitely agree with Megan's reasoning. That's why if I didn't know what I know now, I would just have assumed Leia is the older sibling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just feels like it makes more sense that she's the older one. Not necessarily just because of the way that she was raised in, we gotta help people, we gotta do this and that for other people, but just when I read their dynamic, like she is protective of him. She's very much like an in charge person. He is protective of her as well, but he is more carefree.
Mm-hmm. And it feels like he looks up to her a lot.
Yeah.
And even in like the first movie, he admired her so much. And she was just like dismissive of everybody. And I'm like, that's such like a younger sibling who idolizes their older sibling. And the older sibling's like, stop hanging out with me. Like, yeah, this is what it feels like.
But then, but I'm just gonna make the small argument of Endor when he wants to go see Vader, because at this point he kind of knows. I guess when he finds out from Ben that he has a sister, and then he's like, "Oh, Leia's my sister, right?" And then it's like from that point on, things
change. Yeah.
But that's the point in time of the movie where he's like, "Oh, I am like," he probably knew he was the older one, and that's why the thought process to go back and I will go back to this to go back to episode 2. That's why it backtracks like that, but only from the point of Return of the Jedi is where I make my argument.
It does shift at that point
because he was like sure of it, and then from then on he was just like the Force strong in my family. I know what. I
Yeah.
now know I'm the head of the Skywalker family. That's it. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Are you ready for your last one?
Oh, sure.
All right.
So do you think Leia should just lay low for a while like Han says, or should she just continue business as usual?
I think.
Oh, before you answer, be careful. Think about the other question. What would you say to that? My dog might
No,
start
I'm
barking.
gonna. Yeah, exactly.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
He's not gonna like my answer. No, I think based on everything they've experienced so far, like you gotta be careful now. Like you cannot just be like the first time maybe something weird was going on, but when it happens 2 times in a row and it's the same gang of aliens after you, it's like, okay, we're being hunted. Like, and somebody in the inner circle of the planning situation is leaking our like itinerary. Like we can't trust anybody. It's time to get real sneaky and real careful. Mon Mothma and Phaleon and Akbar can figure it out. Like there are plenty of other people they can send on these missions. Like, or it can wait a couple months. Like we gotta lay low and chill and just spend some time together and like, I don't know, do some Jedi training or something. But yeah, like get out of Dodge and stop going on these diplomatic missions that are putting your lives in danger. Like stop. Go hide out. And I was so happy that they brought up Lando. I was like, oh my gosh, what a place to stop. So yeah, we're gonna get some Lando in here. It's gonna be great.
I guess that you say that I'm now gonna change my answer to because I was gonna go opposite of what I said from the last question. But yeah, so I'll go differently about it. It's better to do so let me start off this way. Instead of putting Leia on the bench, do a substitute. And yeah, that's a better way to put it because yeah, remind me that Lando was incoming. So we're gonna see another dynamic of a big four. I'm gonna call the guys in this instance. Well, kind of like you took out Luke a little bit, but he'll be back. Yeah, I think the big four guys are now. Let's see what they do. Let's see what kind of craziness these four get when they get together.
No,
but I don't want to.
Everyone's got a different storyline going on right now.
Right,
like,
right.
I'm interested in all the ones we're following between, Thrawn and Paleon and Joris, and then we've got like every once in a while Talon Card and Mara Jade. Like, okay, what are they up to? Like every time Mara gets more and more interesting because you're like, what does she know? Like, what is she so paranoid about? And then Luke, I guess some of you
know, but I don't.
I'm not gonna say. And then now Luke's doing his thing, and then you've got Han and Leia doing their thing that are going to join up with Lando. I'm like, yeah, everybody's awesome. Sorry, carry on.
No, you're good. You're good. I think it would make more sense for her to lay low, only because I feel like a lot of people that know her know that she would just keep going business as usual. So I feel like it would be doing something different if she did lay low. Because I feel like anyone that knows her reputation is like, she's not going to let anything stop her. She's just going to keep going no matter what.
Yeah.
And the fact that she actually agrees to lay low is kind of out of character for her.
Yeah.
So I feel like to throw people off and for her to get a break, I think it would just make the most sense for her to lay low.
Yeah, that it really is the most unpredictable thing for her. And plus Wedge, like, do you want me to send someone with you? I got some guys I really trust, wink wink. Han's like, no, we're good.
And I like how he was like, I got you either way, I got you. And I'm like, yes, Wedge.
Yes, he knows.
Can we talk about that? I'm gonna call them this Corellian bromance that these two guys got going on.
I know.
It's
You're Corellian boys.
They're Corellian boys. That's what I call them.
They're so special. I love them.
Oh, if Corin could just show up for like a minute and hang out with Han and Wedge, I'd die.
Oh,
I know. Oh well.
Cry.
It's like they get each other. I love it.
Yeah,
I
that would be
love it.
really cool. But
Well,
yeah,
that
that's all
is
the questions.
good questions, good chapters. It's really ramping up. I feel like, you know, the first 1 through 5 that we did last time was very much a setup, kind of reintroducing the state of the galaxy and the characters. And now we got action scenes, intrigue, and drama and conflict. Like, oh, it's really getting going. So
It's
what
on
are
both
we
sides.
reading? Yeah, both sides. Like
Exactly.
that's what I love. It's just this amazing balance of like the bad guys story, and you're like, what are they up to? But then you kind of see it leaking into the good guys story, and how their plans are being affected on these ones. And then you've got this like morally ambiguous, like what's going on with the smuggler?
Yeah, the smuggler
with Talon Card's gang, you know, what's
Yeah.
that all about? How's that going to tie into everything? Like,
Mhm.
I'm just loving this setup and how everything's slowly starting to get weaved together. And you've got these little hints of Thrawn's plan. Like, oh, are those tubes ready? And have we found some miners? And how's that shield? And we got to hit this one planet with. And you're like, what's he do? Like, what is this? How's this all going to come together? But if you know it will, because it's Thrawn, and it's like all these little seeds are being planted, and it's going to be amazing when we see it all grow. So what are we reading next?
Next, we're reading chapters 11 through 15.
11 through 15, easy peasy. And maybe we get some Lando in these chapters.
Fingers crossed.
So fun. All right, so that's it for this week. Got a couple action scenes. We got lightsabers. We got Millennium Falcons, all aliens, droids, everything. And then next week, we'll see what's going on. Luke going back to Dagobah. Lando coming into the picture.
Yeah.
Jorah's both going absolutely nutbag. Oh, and his battle meditation finally working. How is that going to change the dynamics of these upcoming battles? Like, oh my gosh, it works. That's scary. Leia's getting stronger in the Force. Like, this could go anywhere, guys. Watch out. So next time we're going to have 11 through 15. Read it. Be ready. But for this week, Sexy Wookies are out. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Sexy Wookiee.